color D8 BFF5.
That's perfect.
Yes. So RC1 is out.
Yeah!
Woohoo!
Hey.
Thank you, everyone, for everyone who's here and everyone who's not here, and it's a big deal. So we did a lot of stuff together, and we couldn't have done it on our own. So I just want to appreciate everyone that's worked on this stuff.
It was wonderful sitting up till 2 in the morning last night and hammering down whiskey while I was enjoying seeing stuff, getting in, trying to upgrade and figuring out the theme I've been working on. I had to change so much stuff into that. God damn it!
Yeah.
No, but actually the thing is that by having stable in now is gonna really save my ass. I think that was to me that was the last piece of the puzzle in my head that I could not make go. Told me like, oh, what do we do when we move forward? So, and then there's gonna be. I'm gonna write a blog post now about actually about that whole theme stuff, because it's gonna be really confusing, I think, at first for people to understand what they need to do. And that was what I could see yesterday already by some of the comments I got out of it. So there's definitely a lot of work on that we need to look at. But Jesus, what the? Okay, I'm done doing the chat right now.
Should we proceed on the
Yes.
issues? Okay.
Yeah, so we have, instead of our usual format, just briefly, instead of our usual format of kind of each person talking about stuff, we just kind of have a grab bag of issues to work on, mostly because there's less things that can get in now, so we're more focused on what can we actually get in and discussing and unblocking those. So yeah, sorry, go ahead, Laurie.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the admin team thing. I don't know if it's familiar for others, but the idea, probably Louis just came here, so probably it would be wise if Louis could introduce his idea of that, because the idea is pretty awesome. So I'm really excited of that. So Louis,
Hey, sorry, I don't know how good is my connection?
you can turn off the video if it's not good.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's better now.
Do you want to talk about the problem and the solution we have
You are lagging a
to deal
little
with front-end admin user interfaces? Yeah, I don't know if I have a good connection. Give me a second. Maybe talk about something else while I try and figure this out.
It seems okay. It's just you're not like going super Morton robot, so I don't know. Try it.
Merp, merp, merp. Okay. So the issue I opened a while ago, I put in the chat, is admin UIs on the front end before the theme. So part of the problem of this is that loads of themes on the front end always screw up the admin interfaces that you have on the front end of the site. The biggest example in Drupal 7 is IPE, which breaks on pretty much every site whenever you make some modifications to the theme. And another point that was raised in another issue is that we're adding 7 style guide visual motifs to the module CSS to make it look consistent with the backend, because it's still the admin interface, it's just somewhere else. So at some point, I think in Austin, Alex Potter and I sat down and we basically had a look at how the quick edit module does this, which is to define a key that the admin theme can use to say load this on the front end of the site, to add like admin styling. So that's the solution that we kind of said, well, this one is working at the moment, and we discussed it quite a bit in the issue I linked to. Although, like, I argued against it initially because it doesn't really solve the problem completely, and it doesn't really help us with contrib either. Because there's no way for 7 to define something that contrib pulls in, because I wouldn't know what to use for 7 to do that. But it's the only thing that we actually have that is close to helping solve that problem in Drupal 8. So there's a meta about moving some of the stuff out of the module files and into 7 and then loading it in the same way that Quick Edit does. And I'll find that issue. Give me a second. I don't even know if we can even work on this stuff now. Now we're in RC.
I think, unfortunately, we're kind of stuck at this point because, you know, one of the issues that we have is copying all the assets to stable, and really that needs to be done as, like, here's how they were as of RC1, because that's what our commitment is, that markup isn't going to change after RC.
I thought the marker was still good after RC. I thought that final copy was going to happen at 8.0. That was kind of the intent behind that one.
No.
Who mentioned that it can't be changed?
Well, I think it's been the case the whole time.
Yeah. So Bartik and 7, we've said Bartik and 7 can change, and we've said that with stable and classy in there, board markup could change, but stable and classy can't change. Those are our backwards compatibility layers that need to be stable for people so that when they start building things now, what they're hopefully going to do, it's going to be consistent for them and stable.
But since we're moving, we're basically moving all the stuff out of core and up into classy, and we can pretty much overwrite whatever we want into 7 because 7 is Drupal's own product. Copy, sorry. We could do that, and I still think we should do that. I think we should be, you know, as we talked about in Barcelona, just be upfront with it. But yes, we cannot change it down in core as it is, or down in classy or stable at this point.
Sorry to
but
interrupt,
we can fix.
I don't think we have to discuss if we can fix the issue right now. I think we should try to find consensus how to proceed the issue anyway, because at some point we can proceed on the issue. So it's still valuable to think of that right now because there is work that has been done.
But isn't it fixing it in 7 and then take it from there? We know the use case of the 99% of all people right now will use 7, then try to figure out how much we can actually fix by prefixing, classing, whatever we want to do that way. As I can see, some of the admin UI talk is going on, and then fixing it that way.
Yeah. So how I would like to see it working is still a little bit similar to what WordPress has, so that they have admin components inside the admin team, which will be loaded as they are in the front-end team. So the component includes JavaScript, CSS, and template, and therefore it cannot be changed in the more. But some of the components should be able to be changed in the front-end team, so there should be a way to override them in the front-end team, because of different front-end teams might want to have a different thing. You have a library alter which adds a possibility to add a CSS from right now, or is it JavaScript also? Anyway, but no
I can't hear you at all, Lori.
Template. Can you hear me at all?
No.
Oh, crap.
You keep cutting out sometimes.
Better? Better or worse?
Better.
Okay, perfect. So I think you can add CSS and JavaScript from the info.yaml file with the magic thing that we have added to the library info alter. But the frontend team could still override the template and therefore break everything inside the admin team. Also, this is not something that can be added everywhere. I don't think it's the most sustainable way because it's this new info YAML file keys. So what I'm most worried is about how contrib is gonna work because they cannot pack their components in the admin team, so they would still have to provide the CSS files themselves, and it doesn't help them at all. And also how it's going to work with the current solution, how it's going to work when there is different looks and feels in the front-end teams. When there is dark, there is light, there is blue and pink, and you might them to look different. You might want to have them look different. Then there is also cases where the teams might be dynamic, and I don't know how that's going to work. If some of the CSS files are coming from the admin team.
I don't know what you mean by dynamic. What do you mean by dynamic?
Team key. You can dynamically choose to use different theme.
Right.
Yeah. So depending on time or user settings or permissions, And what happens if the user doesn't have permissions for the admin team? Doesn't have permissions to use the admin team? Then they shouldn't get the CSS from the admin team at all, probably. Yeah,
Well,
that actually makes sense.
They do have to get the CSS from the admin team because if they have permissions to have contextual links, then they have to load the styling for the contextual links. It's
permission. But if they don't have permission to have admin team, why would they get CSS from admin team?
But they have permissions to load the contextual links, right? And
yes, but there is different permission to allow the admin team.
But they're not going to get the contextual CSS if the contextual links aren't loading for them. So they're only going to get that CSS if they do have permissions.
No, but there is different permission to show admin team itself.
Yeah, but we're not checking those permissions right now. Are you saying we should be?
I have no idea what should happen in this case.
So I have a few thoughts I'd just like to share quick on some of the things that you mentioned, Laurie.
Yeah.
So first of all, I think that we can't take responsibility for everything that possibly happens in contrib, right? And that's the existing situation. The existing situation is that we don't, as we're doing right now, where we're loading this stuff through core markup and CSS and JavaScript instead of in 7. We don't take responsibility for every single contrib theme that's out there. And that's an existing problem. A contrib module has to define their own, styles and things like that, and hopefully they're using the 7 style guide. But we can't control that, and I don't think that what we choose to do here that we need to worry about that. And I think the other thing is that, sorry, my cat keeps knocking my laptop screen down. The other thing is that, sorry, chain of thought just got disrupted. I understand the concerns that front-end themes can break stuff with the front-end admin UI. Like, I get that. And the thing that the time where that's going to generally happen is when somebody's using a generic element selector off of a region. Like if you have a dot region and then you have a UL or an LI or something like that. And yes, there are some really gnarly ways that we could try to prevent that, making everything important. But I think that it's good to allow people to override things in general. Themes should be the last stop on the train. They should be able to make decisions. And yes, people will make accidents. And I think part of it is like, doing education and providing guidance. Like, don't do that. If you're using element selectors, you're playing with fire, and you're probably going to break things. But I think if we try to control that too much, I think it makes it harder in general for people who do want to have a theme that has lighter components. They could still do that if we're having 7 loading things. This doesn't stop that. They can write their own CSS file, and they can make it a lighter themed or darker themed contextual link. That's totally fine. I don't know. Those are a couple of things I was thinking about.
Yeah, so I agree that with all the issues that you're raising, Larry, that these are all problems that the current solution doesn't solve. I've already proposed and would love a solution where the admin theme defines components that are loaded dynamically, or whatever you call it, by modules on the front end. That's Drupal 9. So, I mean, we could talk about that at any point in the next 4 years.
I don't think that is Drupal 9. I think that is something we can do in minor release.
But we have to like re-architect how we define theme components.
Yes, but we can. It's API addition. It's not something that we have. We don't have to remove anything or break anything that exists already. We can add something on top of the existing APIs. That's what I believe.
Oh, really? But aren't we changing how we're rendering markup, like completely?
Yes, because we are adding something on top of the way we render.
Yeah,
So
we might be able to. We might be able to do. He's right. We might be able to do it as an addition.
Yes.
But it's not something we're going to be able to do right now. So
Not right now.
It's not going to solve any problems we have before release or early in release or something that we're trying to do for 7 right now.
That's definitely not 8.1. That's 8.2, I would say. But that's something that I believe strongly that we can still achieve before Drupal 9, and I hope so. Because the only thing we can't break is the APIs. We can add lots of code there on top of the way it works already. I believe so.
Okay, that's interesting.
So what's the ideal solution here? Just blue sky kind of thing. Is there an ideal solution that's come of this, or is it just load it in the right order and grab it from the admin theme?
I think Larry described part of the ideal solution, and then inside that issue that like the having the admin team have full control over the entire component as a markup and the CSS and the JavaScript or whatever packaged together. That is better than it just having control of the CSS for sure.
Yeah, and then also giving a possibility for the front-end team to override that somehow, extend it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It also requires that.
So the component itself is providing its own CSS, JavaScript, and all that stuff, and you're loading all that together when you're loading it onto the front-end theme. So you're not actually, it's not really brought in by the theme, it's brought in by the module.
If we think about this from the component point of view, where like I guess the theme defines the components, or at least we have this idea of a set of these set theme components that themes have to provide, and then modules would have to say, I want the admin version of this component. But this is like this feels like re-architecting how our theme system works.
Yeah, so I think we have to we have to have the caller or something picking up the component inside the module. But the component itself should be only in the admin team. And we could, because now we have a BC layer, we can add it to stable too. So we can have that component inside the stable. And then stable would be providing the basic components from there. So we wouldn't break the BC.
And then we just need some change, like an addition to the theming API to say, give me the admin version of this component instead of the front-end one, I guess.
Yes. And then there would be some way to define, I want to, from the front-end team, to define, okay, I want to override the admin component also. So that there is a consistent way to do it in the lightest place possible.
Yeah, I think as long as it's easy, like it's hard to do it by mistake, because the problem right now is that themes do it all the time by mistake.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like what would help is if two main things. If there was a way to conditionally say, I want, I have a template that should be in the theme chain, should be in the theme tree, and probably, I'm not sure where it would go in the theme tree. Maybe right before the default theme, but something where you can put something in there that says, you know, here's a front-end admin UI component template, and somehow that would get picked up so that 7 could change something in the template.
Yeah.
That's important, and that's hard to figure out where it should show up in the theme tree. Because you could have a base theme like Zen, and then a sub-theme of Zen. Should it come in between Zen and the theme that you're using, or should it come right before Zen but after Classy?
I feel like so I was talking about this in Barcelona, I think so. It wasn't taken very seriously because it was crazy talk. I know it's quite crazy to suggest that admin team templates and everything would be loaded between the front-end theme tree and the modules. But that's how I would see it working. So the base theme of your front-end team is loaded. So the base team could also override the admin team's settings.
The tricky part, though, is that any of these things that have templates in stable or Classy, that would override anything that came from 7. Because that's ultimately in the base theme tree.
Yeah, so I don't think in the ideal solution it would be only this template override. It would be a component that you define to extend or override. A little bit like library override and library extend. I don't know how it would be used in action, but that's a little bit closer to what I see how it should work than the actual template thing, which is fully magic.
Yeah, because otherwise, I can provide a use case for this. So at the moment, the quick edit module has like when you edit stuff, there's a save button that appears, and at the moment that's styled really badly to look kind of like the 7 button. But I guess if we had this API, what the quick edit module would do would say, I want to theme a button component, but don't run it through the front end theme. Run it through the admin theme and give me that stuff. But then this is the thing, like if you just have a button, if it's just the same and the front end theme can override the button template for the admin theme, then if they have a button thing in there, then it gets overridden anyway. So it would have to be something but there isn't magic. It doesn't automatically pick up. You have to say, I really want to override the admin button one for sure somehow.
But don't we already kind of have some of this functionality with the libraries? As long as everything was running through a template?
No, it only happens in the current theme tree. So if you extend a library or override a library, it only happens when 7 theme is being loaded as your theme. So when you are in Bartik, those library overrides or alters or extends doesn't change anything.
Right.
If you override them. Like if that button is running through a template, and that template is provided by 7, in that template, it can attach whatever library it wants from 7. So when that button gets loaded, it will load the CSS or any JavaScript for that button.
But if I'm in Bartik, 7's template is never looked at.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I think that if you were to have this magical way for an admin template to be loaded, like somehow you can indicate that, I think it probably should be loaded right before the default theme. It should come after every base theme. And then if a base theme like Zen really says, like, I want to have architectural link style have certain sets to markup that overrides any other admin theme, then they're just going to say, here's a folder for admin components, copy that into your sub-theme if you want to do that. I think that's the only sensible way to make that work.
I mean, a little bit. This is the best collection.
So,
But this is the most. But I think the ones I like the best are.
Somebody's got background noise.
I think Vivian.
I guess it's David. So, yeah, I'm thinking of the possible problems if you would load it between the base themes and the default theme.
How so? Or are you just trying to think of
I'm just trying to think of that. It's very different to what I think. So what is the benefit of doing that? Maybe that could help me think of that.
In almost all cases, we're going to have stable or classy in the theme tree, right?
Yeah.
And particularly if classy is based off of stable, stable should be probably in everybody's theme tree. And stable already has these templates, has these admin component templates. So it would override anything.
Yeah, but so I think in the admin components we are designing something that you can't override a template that way. You have to define in the at least Scott was suggesting extension.components.yaml. Maybe you would in that define, okay, I want to override this component.
Yeah, I guess what I was kind of hinting at is that maybe we should start to think of components not as something necessarily for D9, but for even later in D8, something that we can introduce as an addition. And then, it could work similarly to libraries, maybe, where you have them all declared in a file. They live somewhere separate from the templates. And if you're a theme and you want to override the components, you would have to specifically do that one way or another, like through your info file or something, how you're able to override or extend libraries.
I think one of the things that's going to be really interesting to see is actually how people are moving to work around the idea of components. There can be many. I mean, the whole components talk is a large discussion where I think that contrib will solve a lot of the initial issues. So maybe we should have it in the back of our heads. But right now we don't. I mean, people haven't even really built a theme yet, and everybody who built the theme has to rebuild it now after RC1 came out. So maybe some of these discussions are very, very premature. What are you saying, Davi?
Yeah, so there is bugs open related to this, and this is the reason why I wanted to bring this up. Whether we want to proceed on the component thing, or do we want to put some band-aids on the theme system by adding the library alters. So I said already that I'm happy to add the library alters, but I'm not happy to add them, but I'm okay if we think that is the right thing. So what do others think about that?
I've seen that issue already too, and I'm not happy about the solution that we have in place at the moment. But it's probably the only solution we can kind of move forward with. Maybe I can kind of maybe we could come up with a solution, and maybe if somebody's willing to like look into the solutions, like Lewis and Larry, to look into those solutions, it might be worth an exercise in trying to go through that in detail. But for now, I think we should probably just push those alters through.
Yeah. So
what bugs are we talking about?
Node
Can
preview
someone-
bar is the big one.
yeah. So I would be more than happy if you would just fix the bugs by adding the CSS in the module, and then creating new issue about the component thing.
That makes the most sense to me, because I don't think that we should push any particular direction on how to proceed with the component stuff until I think people have had some time actually using Drupal 8, and we figure out what we want to actually do and really think it out.
Yeah, I think it's very premature. That's what I.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's an 8.2 or 8.3 thing to do any
Yes.
sort of like adding new API additions or something. It's not going to be 8.1. So you're looking at a year to a year and a half from now. So I'd agree with library alters for now.
And Larry, if you want to go over that tomorrow too, we can probably do that that sprint in Seattle. We could probably just like draw some stuff on papers.
Yeah.
So I'm totally up for just kind of exploring different ideas on that problem.
Yeah. So the reason why I don't. So I see there is some benefits of adding the library alter, but the benefits are very small compared to the possible regressions. That's what I believe in. And I believe that we can get all the good things coming if we move to use proper components, proper admin components. And
what are the possible regressions? I think I'm not sure if I understand that part.
So the regressions, those are definitely the ones that I've written on the Voltron patch issue. So it is just how confusing it's for people and how it possibly breaks and how inconsistent it's with everything. Not with Quick Edit though. Quick Edit is doing it, but also other reason why I see there are some problems is because I think it's gonna break my own stuff. So because it's gonna break my own stuff, I believe it might break someone else's stuff too. Because I'm not doing anything that crazy.
Oh, it'd be good to see just what code you think is gonna break of yours. That would help me understand.
Yeah. So I'm using on multiple sites. I'm using a very, very customized admin theme where it will break. But I can explain. So it's a custom admin theme basically, and there it will break because we would lose CSS from there, and then we would have to cover them.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can just copy it over from 7.
Yeah, I know. But
and that's actually the recommended way of doing it now, right? We're gonna recommend that everyone who has a custom theme copy 7.
Yeah, but copy one folder of CSS from 7 doesn't sound like the best procedure. I mean, like, yeah.
Well, like, I guess this is like a problem if you already have a Drupal 8 site and you already have a custom admin theme for Drupal 8.
Yeah, but it's easy to fix it. I can just copy the CSS files over there. But we didn't want to have the same procedure for the template. Why would we want to have it for the CSS files? That you have to go to 7 and copy CSS files.
Oh, well, I don't, like, now we have hit freeze. We can't break that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This was completely, like, fine before. We were breaking stuff left, right, and center for RC.
Yeah. I don't know. if we can get it in or not.
Probably not anymore, but now we have a bit of an issue because we need to fix a bug, and it's actually quite a major one. But now we're post RC.
So
Happens.
So do you think we should try to build the admin components then?
I mean, sure, yeah. Like after everyone's had a holiday or whatever. It sounds like it's. I mean, it's obviously like the best idea ever. It's just not one that I can really get my head around now.
Okay, so we are gonna probably talk about that with Joel this weekend, and we are gonna create issue for that.
So it is 10. It's like 8 minutes to the top of the hour right now, and I know we want to find a solution for this, but we spent our entire meeting on this, and like there are other things that we need to be doing.
I think
I don't want to put a damper on this discussion, but like we have other things that we need to do, like theming functions and removals and stuff.
I think we have a consensus on that one. We have the next steps now.
Yep.
So we will figure out if we can get the fix in. If we can get it in, then it goes in. If we can't get it in, then we fix the bug. And we do stuff with Joel this weekend. Okay, let's move to the next one.
And Mike's will be there too. You can join in. He's not on that call right now, but he'll be there too. So we have stable is in there, so that's kind of good. Maybe we can. We still have to like move all of the. Sorry, make classy extend stable is one of our things we have to do. Scott, did you want to talk to that maybe?
Yeah, so that's kind of a. I'm not sure if it's in. I think it's more of an issue with themes in specific, because the issue is that if you have a theme and you want to put a base theme underneath it as a dependency, you need to go through let's say if you're not using Drush or something, you need to go through update PHP, which then uses the theme system. So if you suddenly have classy, and then you want to say, okay, classy depends on stable, you need to install stable, but you can't get to the point where that's actually going to happen on the front end. So we're kind of kicking around some different ideas. Originally, I'd had a patch that kind of hacks some code into the theme initialization class, and it checks to see is there missing dependencies and installs them. And that works, but I guess it's like really bad, like, mixing domains or whatever stuff that I don't necessarily understand fully yet, but what's that?
Sounds like a good idea. Just automatically install the dependencies and then uninstall them.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed, I don't know, it just seemed like the maybe it's not the exact right place for it. Lori had created a different version where instead the theme initialization throws an exception, and then you can catch that if you're trying to do things. But the issue that I have with that is that you can get to this kind of failure point a lot of different ways, and there's a ton of calls in core right now. So we can kind of try, like, we could update every one of those to do like a try catch, but that seems kind of crazy.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think I mentioned it on the IRC, but I didn't be very explicit of the idea that I had about the issue. So because update.php has its own kernel, I guess so. So we could, in that process, we could check if the themes are broken or not in the very early times. And then if the theme thing is broken, we just do it there, and we hardcode the use case in the update.php, because that's what we want to have. I have to figure out how that could be done, but possibly there would be a way to do it.
Okay, yeah, and I kind of see what you mean, because update.php has its own
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and then do it there, and then fix the themes in there and don't care at all about the front-end stuff, the front-end theme stuff, which we doesn't have to care.
Yeah, update PHP has its own kernel. It has the update kernel, so we could probably do something there. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
The copying of assets to stable, that's something we can do right now, so we don't need to get the other issue done first, right?
Yeah, and I was just kind of catching up. So David had mentioned that maybe we should do the templates in one issue and the CSS and JavaScript in another issue. I don't have any strong feelings on that. Maybe David, you want to explain that, or someone else want to weigh in on that?
Well, I was thinking about doing the assets first and then the templates later, just because I was concerned about losing track of things when we have these big patches that move a lot of things at once. We've done that a couple times where we always seem to miss something. During RC, I just want to make sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah.
I think if we had one patch that was just libraries, it's easier to sort of review that because you put your mindset into just doing the libraries and nothing else. And then another patch that just copies the templates because you know you're only just looking at the templates and making sure that they're moved over and correct and everything. It's just a suggestion if you think it's worth it.
I did this already. So I moved all the templates and all the CSS and all the JS, and we got all the libraries done. And then we had to strip that all out of the patch in order to get it done faster. So we have a starting point that we can go from.
Yeah, so I updated the issue summary there this morning, and what I suggested is to take one of your later patches, Mark, and where we had all the stuff that you copied and the library stuff that I worked on, and just make a new patch that only does those things.
Yep.
And then I think I kind of want to play it by ear and see, because I think it would be really easy to split if we wanted to split, but in the meantime, we could keep it together. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. Because it would be very, very simple to take that patch and split it, because it's looking at entirely different directories and everything. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to triple check it. I'm a little I don't know if anything went in that time period. I know one thing we need to make sure we do is that we did some extra theme function conversions that went in, and those templates need to go in.
Yeah, what I plan to do at some point, and we could maybe look at kind of scripting something, but what I plan to do at least is do like a git log based on like an older commit hash, and see, okay, since this commit hash where we copied everything.
I have to run to another meeting that just came up. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries.
But good job, everybody. I just wanted to say that. We'll triage what we can still do, and I'm glad to work on the asset moving. But I gotta go. So talk to y'all later. Thanks. Bye.
See you, Mark.
Bye.
Yeah. So what were we saying? Templates, kittens.
You were saying you might write a script using git log to verify if anything has changed since you started working on the patch.
Right. So yeah. I guess the script would do something like that. So, or git diff or something. Diffing since a known kind of like a known good commit, and see, okay, here's the templates that changed. Here's the CSS, JavaScript, libraries, files. That's one part of it anyway, but then we can also I think we can also do something where we dig into all of the core themes and stuff and compare all the templates and make sure that all the templates get moved over, that kind of thing. I think we can probably come up with ways to automatically verify certain things.
Yeah, it's in the patch, right? Because those hunks should just be renamed or copies.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is just more that make sure we're not missing anything, because we wouldn't see that in the patch if we're missing copying some template. But I guess at the same time as well, obviously we want to be complete, but if one template or something did happen to slip through the cracks, like we would have some sort of a process when we're making changes to core template where we're ensuring that they're in place and stable and/or classy, I think. Like that's
Well,
kind of.
I mean, I don't. It shouldn't be that difficult to find them, because we can just.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just do a find in core and then a find in stable to see that you have the same number of trig templates. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of a worst case scenario if that comes up, you know. Stabilizer module, yeah. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. So we have only 2 theme functions left. Special shout out to Anna for kicking all our asses and getting those all moving. But yeah, we only have 2 left. They're kind of tricky ones.
So they'll let us still do that during RC
Yeah.
because Catch wants to deprecate that.
And like if we somehow don't get to them during the RC phase, or if the RC phase is only like 2 weeks or something, and we don't get to it, then we could. It sounds like we could even get rid of them after release as well, because they're not really an API. And if someone has,
As long as there's a template file there.
what's
So
that?
why are we going to break existing themes? The
So-
override theme function.
No, so if your theme has a theme function override of something that used to be a template, the theme function will take precedence. So in other words, it'll still work unless there's like a pre-process for the theme function and that changes and stuff like that. But these ones aren't like that. So yeah, I think we're fine to remove them as soon as possible, but pretty much at any time. Not remove, but convert, you know.
Yeah, let's remove.
I can write that patch.
Yeah, we don't need the field UI or language content settings.
The views UI, that'd be good too.
Oh yeah, I think we would make at least Daniel happy, and maybe even Theodore.
All right, so right now during RC, it seems like the real priorities are those 2 theme functions and stable stuff, and that's probably the most of what we can really do.
I guess so, and I mean, once we have those in, the committers probably aren't going to want to commit anything, but we could still keep messing around with the core stuff once all that stuff is in. Not all the stuff, but the stable stuff.
We should be able. We can still fix bugs and stuff in RC if there's major bugs.
I don't think so.
Well, yeah, not in RC, but after release. So it's not like we should stop working on stuff. I mean, if I'm not saying like if you want to take a break, take a break. But like if you want to work on stuff, I think we should still keep working on stuff. Majors is a really good idea. And Laurie and I have talked a few times about even just kind of going to sort of triage the majors and see, are they still major? Like, do they need some sort of figuring out or discussion or action, that kind of thing.
Major triage.
Major
I
triage.
think, now is a good time to triage and also test.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally.
Like, actually try to use Drupal 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually the fun thing is because I honestly think that's one of the most important things we can do right now is actually the quality assurance. And I've been trying to do that for the last year and a half. I figured out looking through all of the couple of test themes I did, and nothing is working right now because so much of the templates and markup. So I sent out a tweet a couple of days ago that I'm probably sure that people are going to hate us when they figure out they're going to work with 130 templates, and there's going to be ideas and concepts and stuff that we should look into and figuring out how we can make it better from the get-go instead of just saying, oh, by the way, it's done now. I mean, there's going to be a lot of what the fucks, and you know, I think that
is there an example theme that's like part of the examples module?
No, and we should get something out that get people.
Yeah, I wonder if we should do that. Like, let's make an example theme, and in it, like, literally do everything in it, like with libraries and templates, and like do all kinds of wacky things just as demonstrations, and we can use that to test in QA as well.
Yeah, and put like inline comments on it so you can actually find this stuff. So I mean, that's one of the things I've been taking around with now. I figure out, okay, how do I do this? Why do I do this? Where was the documentation for this? So, or create an example theme, or Joel's idea of Panda. I think Joel named himself Minister of Propaganda and bad naming.
Whoa. That's Sanders' theme. It's pretty cool. We should use that one as the.
No, but I think there would be definitely an idea in trying to do that, and then just set up a really easy to look at theme that doesn't do much. I mean, a header and a footer and a couple of gray tones, and that's basically it. But then begins like play around with how do you extend and stuff, do all that thing. I think there will be a lot of value in that, just as we have the example module.
Yeah.
Because basically every theme that we get out that I've seen right now in Contrib all says, well, we're blah blah. It's all like it's like a marketing machine, and that's not going to get people started. They were used to in Drupal 7, we just download send, and then we work from there. But we kind of change everything from the ground up. So I also think it's on our shoulders to do that. But yeah, do we have a Panda theme, or is it no? It's kind of complex, yeah.
Well, it's not kind of complex, but the structure, it's set up in a way that you can like update the theme kind of stuff. So what we have in our company is we use lots of mixins, but it's impossible to update the mixins. So I created like Bower dependencies in the theme. So
see,
that is what I need.
People should write fucking vanilla CSS instead of all of this Bower fucking composer bullshit.
But we could kind of strip it down to create like an example theme.
More
yeah. It sounds like it's like solving a different problem. I think we can probably take some stuff from it to make like the example one. But yeah, it sounds like it's actually solving something in particular, which isn't probably a good idea for like an example theme.
Yeah. So yeah, we could definitely create an example theme. And then try to like override libraries, do the libraries extend, all that kind of stuff, explain it in line, because yeah.
And I think also, yeah, I was talking to one of my coworkers yesterday, and he's very familiar with D7 theming, and I was trying to kind of give him a crash course on all the D8 stuff, and there's a lot, like not only the library stuff, just in general. But also, like, if you think about even like Twig templates, how you can extend them and all the different ways you can extend them, and in this case you would just use the normal loader that we use. In other cases, you do the @classy blah blah blah. Otherwise, it's an infinite loop, and like those could all use examples for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things, the first blog post I read about doing stuff in the menu, were some dudes doing some crazy shit with like all kinds of functions and stuff, like to add a class into the menu, and I was like, what the fuck, guys? Why are you doing it this way? Why don't you just open up the template file and yank in the fucking class name you need for a specific thing, and then get done with it? And it's like, all of these things, there's so much stuff that people have no idea, and I kind of want to save them from this. I was talking with Mark Carver, who's doing the Bootstrap thing, and they have so much pre-processed bullshit going on there because it's upgraded from Drupal 7, so they're still on that thing. So I definitely think, hey, Firetap. More art, by the way, and this is pistachio theme.
Very nice. That's the logo. That's the logo.
There we go. We're done. That's the name. Let me check. Pistachio.
Vanilla pistachio. Vi har lavet sjov med dig, skat. No, but definitely the good thing here would also be that this would actually give people a place to go where they just want to figure it out, and it would be quote unquote self-documentary, and it's just
Nope, doesn't exist.
what vanilla.
I'm making a new theme right now.
Oh, fuck. Are we doing vanilla or pistachio? Pistachio.
We're
Jesus
doing pistachio. That's the example theme. Pistachio. Making a sandbox. Yeah, we're done.
There's a Drupal user.
Vanilla makes fucking sense. Pistachio makes
No, this isn't vanilla because we're gonna do everything in it.
banana. Banana.
It's the nut, what is it? The nut of the royalty. Pistachios. New project. Promote now.
Oh shit. All right.
I'll make give everybody commit access.
Okay, that's gonna go good.
We can try how it's like to be a committer for a once. Let's come with all the things.
Yeah, everything.
Yay!
And yeah,
You can commit your admin library, alter, blah blah blah, into that thing.
And I'll just commit it.
No, but I think that would solve a ton of issues, and as well as because we don't want to stand with people who have like when they're trying to upgrade this shit. That's like one of my key points now in my sessions when I told like they need to remove all knowledge of what they used to do, and that's kind of the key point to going into this stuff. You cannot use whatever you did. I mean, there's no upgrade path for your theme, and that's just important to understand. I mean, that's one of the key points that else we're gonna have a fuck ton of people hating everything in a year or two. But no, at least
There's
we can
no
try.
upgrade path on anything, so they're not gonna hate us. They're gonna hate people.
All right.
All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up. My battery's also dying.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that the test bot is now dead, so long live the new test bot.
Hooray.
Hooray!
Is there actually a Maria Mercedes Martinez's pistachio pony? That is probably the most badass username ever.
Done.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh man. Clicking, I'm clicking.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Who wants to be maintainer?
Me.
Me.
I wanna commit all the things.
Yeah, no, but that would actually be an idea of pointing people from the documentation pages to the files in this theme, so they can download that and then use that as the sample. But fucking, probably we end up, or then again we end up with stable as the name of the theme. So.
Yeah. All right. Until next week, I guess.
Joel, when are you coming here?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Okay. The apartment is awesome.
Sweet.
It's the most